On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
Governing is much harder than conquering,
Right.
as time goes on, and
That's so good.
building that up over the years, and then teaching your people to have an abundant mentality and to see that there is opportunity in any kind of market. And so, I mean, we're growing people, and it's bigger than just selling metal. So
Yeah.
I say, if we're just pushing metal, we're not doing our jobs.
You are listening to Gathering the Kings with Chaz Wolfe, featuring fellow 7, 8, and even 9-figure business owners who have real battle scars from business and life, but have prevailed as the king that they are designed to be. We welcome high-performing entrepreneurs to the stage in order to reveal the real of the real on what it takes to build a successful business today. We dissect the good and bad decisions they've made along the way that give a true and accurate picture of the journey of success and how you too can get there. Through this dialogue, you will learn the value of growing your network and surrounding yourself with power players and kings like today's guest. Grab your pen and notebook because we're about to dive in. What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. I've got Jon Fruetel here on the stage. My brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being patient. We had some technical difficulties, and then just now I totally forgot to ask you the pronunciation of your last name. Thank goodness for editing. We can get all that out of there. But dude, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that we get to tell your story here today. What type of business do you have?
Yeah, so we are a professional sales business, but we sell HVAC equipment, commercial, industrial HVAC equipment. And we serve clients from the pre-construction design period to helping them figure out how to replace that equipment that's been in their building for 20 years.
Yeah.
So that is our business.
I totally respect the mindset that you just laid. I don't even know if the listener caught it. You said you're a sales organization that happens to sell this type of equipment, not a mechanically equipment selling company. Why the distinction? Why is that so important to you? Why did you say it like that?
Yeah, it's part of our mission. And so we talk about being a professional sales organization and being proud of that. There's a lot of people that, they want their title to be anything but sales because they don't want to be a sleazy sales guy.
Yeah, it's icky.
Or gal. We take pride in that. But we think that selling is more getting the client comfortable and confident in that decision that they're about that product they're about to buy. Yeah. More so than features and benefits. Yeah. And we have a technical product that requires us to be competent and then also be able to help that client make the decision quickly and get there efficiently. And it needs to work too. So we try to do all that.
Everything that you just said is so applicable for the listener that it's crazy, ridiculously stupid, actually. It's simple, really. You helping them make the decision is how sales are made, and then that's how businesses grow. Well, this is going to be a fun conversation, obviously, with my sales background and with your positioning of your company. I think we're going to be able to add a lot of value. I want to know, before we get too much into the story here, though, at this level, you're crushing it, right? Like, otherwise you wouldn't be here. We interview pretty extensively. Why are you pushing at this level of success? You've achieved a lot. What are you still doing?
Why keep going?
Yeah.
It's our mission. And so we have a mission we talk about a lot, is to be the leader and to think like a leader, not necessarily be the biggest, but to lead. And eventually what you do has to be bigger than who you are and what you're trying to do. So eventually you got to get something so we have great people that we're bringing along, teaching this industry to, hoping that they will take it and run with it. Tremendous amount of opportunity. Nashville is where we're located. It's a booming economy. Nashville's been growing. So, we have the privilege to represent about 30 lines with exclusive rights to represent manufacturers.
Wow.
And so, they also look to us that, they need us to continue to grow with our market and Nashville. So that's a motivator too. But I'd say personally, it's the transition between, faking it to making it is something has to go off in your mind where it's bigger than you. And we got there probably a few years ago. And those are stories that you can spend hours talking about, but it's definitely become bigger than just Jon Fruetel or the Fruetel family or Mechanical Resource Group. It's really trying to just serve clients and create a great business for people to see. And I don't think there are very many entrepreneurial businesses out there for people to want to be like. So
Well, that goes back to the mission that you said that you want to be the leader. Obviously, that can be defined in a couple of different ways, but being the example is often what the leader is. I love the language that you're using. We use something similar inside of Gathering the Kings as a mastermind group, but it's this transition from warrior to king. And that mindset that you're talking about, where it's about you or about you and maybe just a few people, you and the family, maybe. And then eventually you transition to not just having to worry about the singular battle like the warrior does, but like the king, where it's like, it's my team, it's my family, it's the future, it's the legacy, it's my community, it's my church. It's like all these things that as a king, we're like, wow, like there's so much more than just taking care of the bills or, buying the car.
Yeah. Governing is much harder than conquering, as time goes on, and building that up over the years, and then teaching your people to have an abundant mentality and to see that there is opportunity in any kind of market. And so, I mean, we're growing people, and it's bigger than just selling metal. So I say, if we're just pushing metal, we're not doing our job.
That's right. Well, I think we're going to be able to get to some stories maybe. Yeah. I want to know how maybe it started. Like, was this the first business? How did entrepreneurship even start for you as a person?
Yeah. So I got in this business by default. It's a family business. My brother and father, they chose Nashville. We basically were all over the country. My dad was in New York City. My brother was in Savannah. I was in Atlanta. My sister was in Birmingham and in Philadelphia. So my dad basically said, hey, if there's a place where we could all come back to and kind of be a family together, where would that be? And if we could create some commerce in order to, afford to, make all this happen, what would that look like? And everyone was really excited about Nashville. And this was 2007, before people were excited about Nashville.
Yeah.
And you could still drive across town in 15 minutes and get wherever you wanted. And now people would be like, oh, I wish I could be there back then. Right. But it was a lot scarier because my dad and my brother set up a shop. They were in the business before. They were mechanical sales. My dad was 35 years with a competitor.
Got it.
And my brother was I think he was in it probably 7 years. And I was a contractor. I was in construction, had a developer build a building here in Nashville. I moved up here, built that. It was a 30-month schedule. $105 million commercial office building. Did that with some really good friends. And that was a fun experience. But then we finished that in September 2009. And the company I was working for was a great company, but they offered me to move to Beaumont, Texas, and then to Dallas.
Okay.
And I was just about ready to have my second child. I got 4 kids, and I was like, man, my family's here. We finally got the one location. I don't know if I really want to go, chase tumbleweeds in Beaumont, Texas.
Yeah.
So I got into this business. We needed a service business to support the equipment that we were selling.
Yeah.
And I got into that, had no idea what I was doing, and just kind of rolled my sleeves up and tried to figure it out, and failed and succeeded and all that together.
I love it. I love the family dynamic. I love the fact that your dad was actually able to pull it off by bringing everybody back together. That's one of those stories you hear of a theory or an idea, but nothing ever happens,
Yeah. It took a lot of sacrifice too, though. So, I mean, my father's probably the most underpaid founder in history. And, people don't see that sacrifice that goes along with it. But the mission is not just for him, but it's for generations that we're trying to do here. So, and not just our family, just for others too. So it's cool.
I love that. I think that just even that move defines the family feel, which then obviously, like you said, it eventually overflows past the actual family to then, team family, and even your team's literal family, their kids and their family. And man, now we're back into kingship again. Now we're talking about just the community piece. So, okay, well, let's talk about in those earlier years when you first were coming on. You said you had no idea what you were doing. You rolled up your sleeves. That's the time frame I want you to be in.
Yeah.
When you're answering some of these questions, the listener today, they're 6-figure business owner. They're trying to tactically find that key to get them to that 7-figure mark. What was a good decision that you made when you talk about rolling up your sleeves in those first couple of years? What'd you do, or maybe what the family choose to do as a decision, as a business that really catapulted things for you guys?
Yeah, things definitely change when we just focus on hiring really good people and selling. And I spent the first few years in this business trying to manage and micromanage probably. And I set up a bunch of processes, and we signed up with a franchise early on to help get us off the ground. That was a big success for us. That helped us get up and off the ground faster.
Yeah.
But all that really mattered was making sure we had really good people, and that we were filling those really good people with a pipeline of opportunities. And when I stopped focusing on operations and just hired good operating people, let them do their job. And then I just focus on filling that funnel, telling the story, and then bring in young sales professionals along with me, and then trying to just show them how that works and then learning from them too.
Yeah.
And building that team. That's probably
I mean,
stop screwing around with operations and just start selling and let people do their job.
exactly. I think that, you can flip the balance, one way or the other, really. There's people that say, create an amazing product and experience and people will come. And then there's the reverse, which is just go sell it and you'll figure it out along the way. And
Yeah.
obviously there's balance there. It's not like
Yeah.
you don't have any systems or any process or any sort of organization or operation. You do. I loved what you said. The distinction was find good people, good operating people, and then they themselves with their own talent kind of formulate those things on your behalf or inside the organization. It's not something that as the owner, we have to, architect every little last SOP.
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember I was in the early growth mode, I was hiring people and they'd come back to me and be like, you guys are disorganized. You don't know, what you're doing. You don't know how to,
Right.
get things in and out. And then my frustration was like, I know I hired you to help us get organized, but I realized that early on, we couldn't hire the people, the level of talent that we really wanted to hire. We couldn't attract those types of people because we hadn't established ourselves yet. And it was a lot harder to sell what we were doing than it was to do it because it's been done before. So we had to go out and tell our story. And when we filled that pipeline and we gave areas responsibility rather than tasks, and that's a big deal, giving areas of responsibility to your operations team rather than task. And I think that goes from, micromanagement to giving autonomy to your team, right?
Yeah.
Letting them make those decisions. Give them the guide rails and then just say, all right, here we go. We're going to go do this and we're going to sell it. And then if you keep everybody busy enough with the pipeline, people don't have time to complain. They don't have time to get distracted. They feel like they're on a team. They'll help pull together and take you together in the same direction. And
Yeah.
that took some time, but that was a big part of our success.
Love the honesty. That was not only just a key part, but that it took some time. That doesn't happen overnight. You don't just find good people. You can't just attract them right away. There's a lot of things that maybe go into just the authority, telling your story. I loved how you gave these super practical things that the listener can take away, because it does over the course of time, when people realize that you're not going anywhere, that you do what you say, that you have a brand, even if you're small, it's okay. They will attract people who want to grow it and who have skill sets and talents. You mentioned this, but you didn't hit on too hard. I'll give you an opportunity here to kind of expand on it a little bit. With good people, does it automatically come like you got to pay more? Like that's kind of a hot topic right now. You just pay more, or do you find the right person and grow them? What's your strategy there?
We've done both. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely expensive doing a hard start. Yeah. And if you want to attract quality people, you got to have something and quality people cost more. We've had really good success recruiting other people. When our employees bring somebody to us that says, hey, this person is worth their salt, you probably need to take a look at them. It's time to listen, because you have your own people bringing quality people to you, and you need to listen to both. And thankfully we're over the hump that, we are a place where people want to come to work, but it took us a long time to get there. But listening to your people and hiring good people it does make it easier. And I know it's worth the investment. If you just go ahead and say, starting a business is going to cost money, but you can make it as fast as you can lose it. All you got to do is sell.
What would you say to the guy right now? He's doing 600,000-700,000. He's got a good little business. He's not very organized, maybe like a lot like you were at the beginning.
Yeah.
He wants to hire the guy just to fix it for him, which is kind of what you're saying, but I know there's more than that. Like you can't just hire somebody, give them no guide rail, like you said.
Yeah, I guess.
And they fix it for you.
That was, I had to do the work. I had to sit down. I had to grind it. So one of the things that early on, I read 2 books. One was like, the entrepreneurial myth.
Oh yeah, the E-Myth. Yep.
E-Myth. Yeah. That was a great book. Just kind of taught about how to step back and become, an operator, and a leader rather than the actual, worker.
Yep.
That helped. And then Traction was another book that I did with Gino. Yeah. I read him probably before he was cool and popular. This is probably about 5 or 7 years ago. Yeah. And I sat down probably 6 weekends and wrote standard operating procedures for almost every role and job descriptions, and then turned it over to the team. And then I understood how things should go, and then just reinforced and supported rather than trying to do it all myself. And that was a big turning point. And that was 2013. So I was probably like 3 years in
Yeah.
after 3 years in, after I kind of got to the point where I could do that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want the listener to pay attention to what you just said, obviously, that you're sales minded, you're growth minded, you're talented people minded. I love all of those. But you just said you can't skip out on the work. You got to create the SOPs, the job descriptions, all those little details that we know, but that nobody ever takes time to do.
Yeah.
Once you create the guardrails, like you said, though, then you put people in place, good people in place, and they should be able to take it from there.
They should be able to take it from there. And then one of the things is, all right, I'm going to bring you on board, but part of your job description is to teach your replacement. And then they start writing those job descriptions, those standard operating procedures. You don't have to do it. Your goal should not be to do that forever. Set the example and then hand it off and manage it and support it.
Exactly. All right, let's flip the coin. Jon, I want to know a bad decision that you made that maybe had you take a step back.
Oh yeah. So I came on board. I was a contractor. I thought I was in the construction business, but really I'm in the service business. And those are very different. And I was way too impatient with people when I came on board. I assumed that things were gonna be done per a contract. I didn't realize that there was, you had to gain trust and build trust. So there's a lot of soft skills that I had to learn along the way. When I came on board, I made a mistake and I let some key people go, and I shouldn't have. I should have kept them on board, and I shouldn't have made a knee-jerk reaction. And I think now I'm probably a lot slower to make personnel changes, and I'll look for a place to put somebody to help them be more successful if they're not in the right spot. Yeah. And I know if my delegation isn't working, it's usually a training problem. It's, I think most people will like to be successful in what they do and want to be good. And it took me a while to kind of figure that out. But learning that if they're not taking it and running with it, I probably did a poor job of communicating or training them. And I need to be patient with my people for them to be patient with me and be patient with their clients too. So
yeah, such good, advice, but honesty, vulnerability. How did you come to know that? What's the story behind you being a little bit honest with yourself there?
Yeah. So we were doing a job. It was for a client, a financial firm downtown. I can't say their name, but it was one of our first big projects, and we were behind schedule, and I was really frustrated. I wasn't used to not performing. Right. And like now it was my team and my team was not performing. And so I ended up firing my lead guy on the job. And you know what that meant? That meant I had to go out there and do his job. So I was in the cooling tower. I was doing out there, getting dirty, not doing my job. I was doing somebody else's job that I just let go. And I should have just been patient with. Yeah. But yeah, that was a big learning point of humility and learning, hey, not every teammate's going to be perfect. We all got to learn how to work together. And
how do you notice how to distinguish when you do need to let that guy go, when he is being malicious, or like where you actually do need to say in the middle of the job, hey, you leave.
Yeah. So this guy was being malicious. He lied and we had a leak in the roof and he didn't patch, and he told me that he did, and that came back to me. But I wasn't at a point where I could move. I still needed him to finish the job. And, there was probably still a way to probably salvage that relationship.
Sure.
But I would say that if you have a company mission, and if people are operating outside of that company mission, then that's the time to probably make the decision to, hey, we need to part ways. But if people are failing just because of lack of knowledge, lack of training, lack of understanding, then those are opportunities that, hey, we need to slow down and we need to revisit what you need to be successful. I think we've come along. Mechanical Resource Group has come a long way in having that type of patience for those type of people.
Do you feel after that happened, for you, that other people got to see that, or maybe even just the fixings of that? Has that duplicated down in a good way? I hope?
Yeah, no, it's the embarrassing part is, I got people coming to me that have worked with me for, 12 and a half years. And they're like, man, you're so much more calm than you used to be. And man, it used to, you would have flown off the handle on that, a few years ago. But, that's where you are when you're young and, you don't know really how to be successful yet. And there's a lot of fear that you're operating off of. And fear is a great motivator, but it's also it can be dangerous too if you don't know what is motivating you. It can't be your primary driver.
Yeah, exactly. I had a scenario, this was earlier this year, and I was in front of a couple of clients as well as a couple of team members, and I got impatient. And I said a couple of things that, really weren't that big of a deal. It was just me being impatient, and it came off different than how I normally carry myself. And so I caught it immediately. It was like, I shouldn't have said that. And it was funny because the two people that commented basically said, you're right. That wasn't you. And it was just like an acknowledgement of, yep, you were a dick, but I'm glad you acknowledged it. I'm glad you heard yourself.
Yeah.
And also the appreciation of like right there in the middle of it, the humility to go, that came out not how I wanted it to, because we don't have to be perfect all the time. I'm not saying that we need to be dick, but when things do happen, it's okay to go, you know what, let me correct this,
And I want people on my team that'll call me, that can call me out and say, hey, you're being a dick, calm down. So, they need to know that we're all equal.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I say, I don't, you only correct the children you love. And so, I think as long as we all have that mentality.
Exactly. It's got to go both ways.
It's going to be a much healthier environment. Yeah.
I love
But
that.
thankfully I got people now that are like, man, Jon, you got to calm down, or man, it's time to ramp up, or, I got guys who know, we know each other's hearts now. And that's a really valuable place to be, from a company standpoint. That's where most companies probably want to get to, where your team that deeply, where you can help each other respond in a way that's successful.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, kings and queens, Chaz Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow. So good. Talk about a decision-making process now. We've talked about good and bad decision. A decision comes across your desk. It's a big decision. It's heavy. It's weighty. We do these all the time. Is there a process? Is there certain steps that you take? Help us out.
Yeah. So that's a great question. I'd say I used to internalize them a lot, and I'd put them on my own shoulders before I would distribute it to the team. And I'd say now when I have a weighty issue, I don't make a reaction immediately. And I usually communicate it to the team, whoever that would be, that needs to know about it. And I think the faster you do that, the faster you take it off your shoulders, and you're able to distribute amongst a team and then attack it as a team rather than an individual. And I've had a lot more success doing that than just going on my own. But the hard part is sometimes you got to take it on your own too. When you're going, it's part of your mission. What you got to do something that's part of your mission, but it's not going to be comfortable for a lot of your team to do. And so how do we attack that? And then when you do attack, that's when the leader needs to know exactly what they're going to do and communicate that extremely clearly, and make sure that you roll that out in a process where you kind of start to drip it and then push it through in a way that make sure you're leading. And the way make sure you're leading is that you still have people behind you when you turn around.
Yeah.
And I've done it both ways. I think I'm leading, and then I turn around, no one's behind me, and I realize I did a really crappy job of communicating that. I need to go back, probably start all over again. So
it's good.
That's where leadership is hard.
It is. Well, I think you've hit two sides of the same, issue, which is you can't do it alone, but sometimes you have to do it alone, And even in the aloneness of the decision, like you said, you still have to look behind you and make sure that you've led well. It may have been your decision. It may have been, the signature was yours, but you look behind, and in the influence or the inspiration of that decision, you've got to be able to communicate it well, which I think that was like the number one thing that you said there, to make sure that they understand. And if they understand your vision, your heart, why you did it, how it affects them, how it affects the mission, then of course they're going to be right there.
Yeah. And that's a continual, you're a farmer and a cultivator of that forever. Right. That's your job as the leader, as the king. That is your number one thing that you're doing is you're communicating that mission, that vision. And you got to be saying that somehow on almost every single meeting with your people. whether it's, you flash it up on a screen and a deck and you actually talk about it. We might do that quarterly, or just starting off every sales meeting, like, all right, who's got a good example of mission? Who's got a good example of serving the client and making sure we are doing what we say we're going to do. And then those decisions that you make that are hard, if they're based on that mission and you've been planting and dripping that and cultivating that over the years, then people are a lot more willing to be like, all right, this is why even though it's going to be uncomfortable, this is why we're going to do this. And I underappreciated that when I first started this business. I did not realize how important that was. I thought I could just be the boss. I could tell people what to do and everyone's going to follow me. And that is not how business is. They got to want to follow you.
Yeah, you can do it, but you're not going to be at your level. The guy listening right now who's doing that, he can keep doing it if he wants to. He's just always going to be where he is, frustrated, revolving door of people, probably clients as well.
Business is so hard, man. It's really, I'm so glad I got business partners and I'm so glad I got a team. I would not be able to do it by myself.
Yeah, that's real. That's real right there. We'll have to quote that. Okay. I want to go into the speed round here, Jon.
Yeah, let's do it.
Come at you a little different angle. My first question is around tracking. If you took this entire, what you say, sales organization and dwindle it down into one trackable metric, you can only pick one.
Yeah. Client appointments.
Client appointments. Okay. Why? Why for you? Why does that make you understand the rest of it with one metric?
The client's the only one that's got money. They're the only one that's going to give you business. And if you're not talking to them, they're going to give that business to somebody else. And so one of the metrics we have is we want our salespeople not behind their desk, but seeing at least 2 clients every single day.
Yeah.
And we measure that, not to a point where it's like, we're going to give you a hard time about not doing it, but hey, how often have you seen these clients? When's the last time you saw this one? Are we making sure we're getting them enough touches? The client is the only one that's going to give you opportunity. And if you can make sure you're taking care of them, and then you have the team behind you that understands that and is willing to execute, then we found success with that.
I want to point out something that you just said that I just think is so unique, because obviously every sales process is a little different. The entire idea of the sales process is the same in every single business. But for you, what you just said, client appointment, it's not the guy that, hey, I got a new lead and I'm going to go out and do an estimate. What you're talking about is, how can I continue to build a relationship? Because in your industry, there's really only so many clients.
Yeah.
And you're managing a relationship long-term. So that way, when they need something, you're the top of mind. Yeah. You're the one that they trust. And so when you say client appointment, it's not so much necessarily a new client, it's lifetime experience or lifetime value, really, that you're maybe tracking underneath even that client appointment. For them, it's easy just to, hey, go check in, do a touch. Don't say the same thing every time. Don't make a phone call, drop in, bring a note, bring lunch. Like, we're doing these things long-term to build the relationship, which is value. And then in return, when they need you, boom, they know you by the first name basis because you were over at their daughter's 16-year graduation or party or whatever. The distinction there for lifetime value. I mean, we're saying the same thing. You use different language. Do you want to tie those together? For
lifetime value. So, I mean, we're fortunate to be in a business where we have a product life cycle. So when we sell something, it's like we're sending our little family members all the way out in all these buildings and we're getting them installed. But then we get to go back and follow up with them and meet with these clients and talk about new things, new technologies, new ways to save energy, pollution, global warming, so many new things, efficiency, energy, so many things that we can go back and talk to them about. And even our contractors, making sure we're helping them be successful in their business and selling more jobs. But are you managing those relationships to the point where you are that number one, you are the leader and you're top of mind when they need you and they're going to pick up the phone and call you. Yep. And that's the point where I think if you have a repeat business that's primarily driven from account management, it's not just pure prospecting. That's where most people want to get to. And when you get there, one of our biggest fears is that we're going to lose that trust of that client. And it is so hard to replace those clients. And if you're not working to make sure that you're serving them the way that you should be, someone else probably is. And we want to defend that piece of dirt that we fought to, hold thus far. So we don't want to give that ground up.
Yeah. Like you said, it's a whole lot easier to conquer than it is to govern, or part of governing is to cultivate, to protect,
Mhm.
to keep hold of, all of those things. Because you're right, it's a whole lot easier just to blow through people, just go get new, but eventually you run out. And
Mhm.
cultivating those relationships is extremely important. You've already mentioned a couple of books here, John. Anything else that you'd say on like a book or like maybe an educational thing that has really meant a lot to you?
Oh man, I'm always consuming, and I almost got to the point where I had to like stop. I
Yeah.
had to stop listening to like books,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I had to like almost turn it off and be like, all right. I just started focusing on mission, vision, and then just only focus on things that were going to reinforce that.
Yeah.
Because when you're young and when you're young trying to grow a business, being an entrepreneur, you can nobody wants to be that manager, that leader who, every employee knows what book they're reading because, they're implementing some new tactic. And that's not healthy for teams or cultures.
Right.
So I think it was probably about 5 years ago. I was like, all right, I'm going to consume it. I'm not going to make it everyone's consumption. And we're only going to focus on things that reinforce our mission vision. And so I made a personal mission statement that I keep
Love it.
close to me, and I keep it on my bulletin board. But I did this in 2013. It was to lead the team and family to wise and competent freedom. So I govern myself by that. And then our mission as a company is to be the leader, but to serve our clients, to serve our employees, to serve our community, make sure we're giving back to our community, and then make sure we're serving our vendors and protecting them so they're proud that MRG is representing them.
Yeah.
So, and we try to make all our decisions based on that mission. And
Yeah, it makes it pretty easy to decide, does
yeah,
this work? Does it not work? If it doesn't fit the mission, you just don't do it.
it makes the hard decisions really easy.
That's right. So it
So,
makes it logical. No emotions attached. Love what you said there, about sometimes you got to shut off the education, not from like an angle of like, I got it. I'm good. I don't need any more. Not that attitude, but sometimes there's just implementation. It's like, okay, the cup is full, time to go work.
yeah,
And just dial in, I think, is probably a good way to say that for a period of time. And then eventually what I have found is that you get into a rhythm where, okay, you're through a period of time and then the cup runs down a little bit and it's time to get some more education, some more learning, some more motivation.
that's
All that
perfect.
fun.
I always say one of my things is like, you can't give what you don't have, right?
Right.
So like, and everyone has different cycles and seasons in their life. And like, I knew that I was young and probably underqualified to lead in my role. So like, I really had to fake it till I make it. So I was consuming as much as I could.
Yeah.
I was trying to create something in myself that I could give back to other people.
Totally.
And then there's a point where it's like, all right, I've hit this point. Now I can focus more on giving than I can on, consuming and teaching training. So I think both are really important. It's just, you got to know that there's a season and not everything should last forever. You shouldn't be a student for the rest of your life. Sometimes you got to flip that switch to become a teacher and,
Yeah.
wear the robe of responsibility. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think that we could use the warrior king language here again, even past the king. What's past the king? The sage, like the gray hair gives it back,
yeah, I don't even know about the sage yet. Yeah. That's, yeah. Yeah. I don't even have any hair. So, we'll
No
see.
gray hair for me.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see where we go.
That's awesome, man. Okay. I got one last question here for you, John. I want to know, actually two, my bad. I'm about to skip
Okay.
one. Oh, goodness.
All right.
This is the most important. Obviously, gathering the kings, especially since we have a mastermind group. I love this question. What do you personally what have you experienced with networking and or masterminding with other entrepreneurs? What are your thoughts around that?
Oh, yeah. So I'm part of peer groups. That's been really important for me to grow.
Yeah.
Number one thing that I learned is it doesn't take much to become an expert. I think you probably got to do it twice. And then all of a sudden everyone thinks you're the expert. And so business leaders are just like everybody else. Entrepreneurs are just like everybody else. And everyone's trying to figure this out together. And it's
Right.
amazing how people are willing to help each other, without an expectation in return. And, and the leaders that have an abundance mentality where they think that, there's so much opportunity out there. There's not one person can take it all. So let's figure it out together. We're all gonna, improve and grow along with it. Those are the type of people that I want in my peer group, in my think tanks and people that I want people that are I learn more from hearing other people's failures than I do hearing about their successes, because you learn a tremendous amount through realizing something didn't work. And
it makes it real, right? Like,
yeah,
for us personally, even at our own level, like here, it's like, man, when I heard you make those bad decisions, as we call it, Man, I know I've done that. I know I'm going to continue to do that. Not that I'd want to try to continue, but it makes
Yeah.
it real. Like, okay, I can actually achieve what it is that Jon's saying that he's achieved because he's dealing with the same stuff I am.
Yeah. I remember, I mean, when we first started, I think that first year, I think we did like $170,000. And like, my dad was like, Jon, one day you're going to do that in a month. And like now, that's the bottom line in a month, some days,
Oh yeah.
some
Exactly.
months, and it's amazing how when you zoom out, how you don't think you're making progress, but when you zoom out, being consistent and doing the same thing over and over again, it's like all of a sudden you're an overnight success after 10 years of just like slaving and, working really hard. And then all of a sudden people are like, man, you're an expert. You got a team and you guys are leading. People want to be on that team.
Yeah.
And so it comes so fast that you can't even see it coming.
Yeah.
And I've seen people give up and quit right before that moment that there's a breakthrough. And I just say, the really successful people in this world are the ones that just don't quit, right? They're just ones that just keep going no matter what. And I hope that's encouraging to somebody, because sometimes I was, wondering, hey, is this worth it? And it is eventually, but it's definitely hard work.
Yeah. If they're listening, they'll get it.
Yeah.
Last question here for you, Jon. If you lost it all,
Yeah.
what would you do?
Man, if I lost it all, I'd probably go big, right? So if you ain't got nothing, you got nothing to lose. I think Bob Dylan said,
That's freedom, baby.
yeah, if you ain't got nothing to lose, might as well go big again.
That's right.
I think I probably would. I'd probably just go try. If I could start over again, it'd be a lot faster. And I've learned so much. I wouldn't have to screw around trying to figure it out for umpteen years or whatever it is.
That's right.
But, if I could do anything, I just want to help other people, and however I can help them figure that out. But if I lost something, I would have to go make some money for my family and put some food on their table. So hopefully I could figure that out.
Yeah. I'm sure at this point you'd be more than capable. I
Yeah.
love the response there, because what it tells anybody who's actually paying attention is that they should have full confidence just to go for it. Just go for it. Don't wait. Don't wait to lose it all. Just go for it now.
Yeah.
I want to sneak in one more question, because this is kind of tied to this. What you just said there, as far as like, being able to maybe do it faster or kind of skip some things that you went through just because you already know it, if you had to start over again, what would you whisper in the younger Jon's ear?
Man, I wish I just had a lot more empathy and patience for people. I was focused on the goal rather than the person.
Yeah.
And
For real.
yeah, absolutely. And when I slowed down and I grew in empathy, the team did better and it was easier. So that was a big lesson for me. I would definitely start over with.
It's good. Jon, you've been incredible. How can the listener find you, connect with you? Maybe they
Yeah, I'm on
lots of
LinkedIn.
reasons why.
I'm primarily on LinkedIn. So Jon Fruetel on LinkedIn. We got a YouTube channel for training mechanical pros. Those are the two places to find me. And
just speak on that for just a half second. If a mechanical pro is listening today, how could you benefit them? Could they work with you? That type of thing.
So we provide free training. It's technical based. It's for HVAC. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to encourage people into the trades and then promote how it's a great industry for people to be in and how you can make a great living. I got technicians that, are crushing it and they're out there, fixing machines and living the life, and they're having fun. They just didn't ever want to be in an office and behind a desk. And, I'm thankful to have them. But we provide mechanical pros on YouTube primarily to be that leader, that thought leader. And we just want to share information and help promote the industry of HVAC, because we think people like air conditioning. So I don't think it's going anywhere.
I don't think it's going anywhere. That right behind
I don't think
food.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
Jon, thank you again for your time.
Yeah.
Given just the insights of your family dynamic, how you guys started, all that is just so good. Well, obviously we'll get all this cut up and out to people as soon as possible, but you've been incredible here today. Blessings to your family.
Yeah.
Blessings to your business and your team. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Chaz. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself.
what I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.